All right.
There you go.
I'd like to thank y'all for stopping by to visit with me. My name is Charles W. Rossner Sr., and I've been in here since 1904, along with my wife, my 2 daughters, and 3 of my 4 sons. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our life and our family. My grandfather was Baron von Rossner of Silesia, which was then a part of Prussia, which is now part of Poland. And those of you who can find all 3 of those places on a map get a gold star. My father, born in 1800, came to this country in New Orleans, married and had 3 children. I was born in 1838 in Algiers. My sister Emma was the first principal of Newcomb High School. You probably haven't heard of Newcomb High School. Newcomb College of Tulane University was founded in 1886. And it was quickly noticed that many of the students coming there were not adequately prepared. So Newcomb High School was founded as a preparatory school to provide these young women with an adequate pre-college education, and they tapped my sister Emma as their first principal. I had a brother who fought in the Union Army during the Civil War. He left for war and was never heard from again. As you can tell from my uniform, he and I were on different sides. So the brother against brother aspect of that tragic war was very real for our family. Before I joined the Confederate Army, I worked as a machinist for the Phoenix Iron Works in downtown Gretna on the northwest corner of 2nd Street and Copernicus Avenue, which I'll now call Huey P. Long Avenue. There we made the very first cannon for the Confederate Navy in May of 1861. And that cannon went aboard the CSS Louisiana, an ironclad ship that went down the Mississippi to fight Admiral Farragut and his Yankees before they came up the river to capture New Orleans in April of 1862. When the city fell, I wasn't here because a month earlier, in March of '62, I and other Gretna boys had joined the Confederate Guards Response Battalion, a hard-fighting unit that saw service first at Shiloh in Tennessee, and then here in Louisiana at the battles of Labadie, Irish Bend, Sterling's Plantation, Mansfield, and Yellow Bayou. After the war, I came back to Gretna, where I met and married Julia Armbruster, a native of Alsace, a little country right between France and Germany. We set up housekeeping right down Lafayette Street over here between 2nd and 3rd Street, and went on to have 6 children together. Building on my pre-war experience as a machinist, I worked at the Johnson's Iron Works, then I was superintendent at the Union Oil Company in Gretna, and then I was chief engineer at the New Orleans Acid and Fertilizer Company, also here in Gretna. In 1876, I was elected as a Jefferson Parish Police Juror. I spent over half a century here in my adopted hometown of Gretna. My oldest son, Charles Jr., built his home on 2nd Street, right around the corner from our family home on Lafayette Street, and that home is today owned by Cullen and Laurie Leday. It was a very Gretna thing back then, as well as today, to live right around the corner from your mom and them. You should know that a photograph of me is actually not known to exist. This photograph is of my oldest son, Charles Jr., and you can see he gets his good looks from me. Charles was very active in establishing Gretna as a city, and went on to become deputy sheriff, clerk of court, and registrar of voters for Jefferson Parish. I died at age 66, and my casket was draped with a Confederate flag, and a delegation of Confederate veterans who fought with me formed a procession right up Lafayette Street to this very spot here where taps was played over my tomb. Then 12 years later, in 1916, a huge memorial service was held here in Hook and Ladder, where the tombs of over a dozen Confederate soldiers who were interred here was held. My tomb and theirs were all decorated. So thanks for letting me share a lot about my family with you. You know, Silesian, Prussian, Polish, Alsatian, Confederate, American, and even Gretna blood flows in my family. So we're just like all of you. We all have lots to remember and celebrate when it comes to our ancestors. And thank you for remembering and celebrating this historic old cemetery by your presence here this evening.
Mr. Charles Rossner Sr. was portrayed by Dr. Chuck Billings, and this is his 5th year portraying someone here in Brooklyn.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Very much. Glad y'all came.
Okay, we're going to go right down here.